Boom. How's it going, guys? Question for the Colts Nation. And I obviously aren't closely following basketball or NFL anymore, especially since my father passed away last year. But I gotta ask you guys, do we want to be in the playoffs, or do we want to, or are we just like going to slap on the sticker rebuild mode? Because we can't stop the run, but that's not what this video specifically is about. Um, our quarterback, Richardson, sucks. At least at the moment, he sucks. I mean, he was always kind of a questionable guy from college anyway. I think they just rolled the dice because there's a lot of upside if he pans out. But this time last year, I made the same video because everybody was the same thing. Richardson. Then, of course, he gets injured. But my point was with Gardner, let's just start from last year. With Gardner Minshew, you go to the playoffs. At least you go to the playoffs. You're not in the playoffs. And then if you remember, they get to the end of the season. It was like 2 or 3 easy games they should have won. They, I think, lost all of them or only won one of them. Anyway, it was a disaster how they ended. And none of it was great. Minshew was playing bad, but the defense was sucking really bad. Like, there was just nothing good, right? Kickers not making kicks. You'd have a game where Gardner Minshew would put the pass right on the guy's hand and the ball was being dropped left and right. I mean, it was a disaster. But this year, Minshew's gone, and still like Gardner Minshew. But you have Joe Flacco, a Hall of Famer. And all he's done up until last week when they decided not to play him was mostly win games for you, and statistically did extremely good. I don't know what they are right off the top of my head, but it's probably like almost 10 touchdowns in like a 3-week period. And just moving the chains. And then you get to Richardson again, who's barely, I mean, he's basically struggling to even get 120 yards a game in passing. By the way, it's not just the Colts. The Vikings have this same problem. There's, Steelers are having this problem. The Ravens still have this problem. Lamar Jackson's been around for a while. If he's not passing the ball and getting good yards throwing the ball, they're usually struggling. All these teams. So 2 weeks ago when the Vikings were like, boy, are they 5-0 at the time? I mentioned very clearly, I said to the effect that I wasn't on the bandwagon for the Vikings because nor am I just going to sit here and do the rah-rah, pom-pom cheerleader shit for I can't even remember what the hell their quarterback's called anymore. Because I said, look, the guy's struggling to even get 200 yards a game passing. Those numbers, by the way, are not good if you're an NFL quarterback. You need to be up around 150 to 300 yards a minimal to be really decent. Because let's put it this way, if you're struggling to get 120 or 200 or 120 or 220 yards, the one thing you need to have happening for you, which is the chains moving for first downs, they're not happening. Not unless your running back's tearing it up for 150 yards per game. That's also not happening for most teams in the NFL. And that's where the Colts are right now. They can't move the ball passing with Richardson in the game. Pittman, basically this happened last year too. Pittman ended up having a great year because Gardner Minshew ended up throwing the ball to him half the year. But all the times Richardson was in the game, he just looked, pedestrian. And by the way, last year was Pittman's best year since he's been in the league. You'd like to see him continue that, but he can't continue that with a quarterback that can't throw the ball. That's the problem. Not barring any kind of injury issue. So, quarterback play is huge. I'm not a big fan. And like I'm saying as a fan, either you want to say this is rebuild mode or you need to rethink. You got a future Hall of Famer in Joe Flacco. Don't pay him whatever millions of dollars to be sitting on the bench. If you think Richardson has a future, let him sit behind Flacco for 1 or 2 years while you got Flacco cheap and at the end of his career, and he's still playing fantastic football with an offensive line that's capable of protecting him in the pocket. It don't make no sense. Like, unless you're calling this rebuild mode officially, it don't make no sense. The other big problem for the Colts is they can't stop the run. And for the last 3 years when Butler was playing for the Colts, all we heard was, yeah, Butler's really good, but, this, was it Javonte Stewart or whatever the hell his name is, this other dude? He's the one that's really making things happen. Yeah, right. So, DeForest Butler's not been in the games this year, injured, and in the meantime, during all this time, so like say 3 years or wherever it's been, he's been in Indianapolis now, the Colts all suddenly are putting up the worst rush defensive numbers since he's been in Indy. And this was supposed to be the year, right? This was supposed to be the year. Butler at the end of his career, I think they signed a new contract, where the dude they drafted out of college, you brought back Kwity Paye because, he thought he deserved it. I don't even know what these contracts are worth, but I'm just saying over the years, but this was supposed to be the year, right? Last year, they were pretty decent at sacking the quarterback. You had some injuries happen already. I think some of the guys are done for the season, but then the guys that are still left over, Kwity Paye and all these dudes, they're not producing. None of them are producing. Now, I know the season's somewhat young still, but basically we're already halfway through the NFL season. That's how fast it's going. So, I don't get it. Like, if you're the Colts, do you want to make the playoffs? That's my question. I'm not trying to be real critical here. I'm just saying, do you want to make the playoffs? If the answer is like 90% of the Colts nation is like, hell yeah, baby, let's go to the playoffs, then you need Flacco in there. If you don't have those ambitions the Super Bowl is not even a realistic ambition, but let's just say you can't even get to the Super Bowl unless you at least make the playoffs. Like, you got to actually make it to the dance before you can make it to the big dance, right? Or the final show or whatever. Like, you got to make it to the dance, the playoffs, in order to get to the Super Bowl. But if everyone's happy with subpar quarterback play and like, hell no, man, making the playoffs isn't the goal this year, then okay. But I just don't understand it. If it is, hell yeah, 90% of you are like, yeah, let's get to the playoffs, then Flacco needs to be in there, unquestionable. Not unless he snaps his knee joint tomorrow. That dude needs to be in there, not Richardson. He's not going to get you there. And once again, he was drafted because he had potential upside to be really special. Well, he's not been special. There's nothing in his career yet that's been special. But only getting 80 or 100 yards throwing the ball per game is not special, and it's not going to win games. Let's face it, also, the Colts running has pretty much sucked this year, especially if Taylor's not starting. And even then, it's been somewhat of a struggle. It's not looking good. So anyway, that's all. Short video, nothing more to be said. Speaking to Colts Nation, if you want to go to the playoffs, it's a real simple equation. Flacco's your guy. If you don't want to make the playoffs, Richardson's your guy. And in the offseason, you probably need to cut Flacco loose and at least let him go somewhere to a team that might actually use his services. Because there's no point of having Joe Flacco, 6'5", 6'6", wherever he is. Big, tall dude, big arm who can see over the top of an offensive line. and he's still accurate. He's still accurate. That's all you can. He ain't going to beat you in a 40-yard dash. That's not what he's there for. But he can have the big games with Michael Pittman, the 350, 450-yard games with 3 touchdowns. He can do that pretty much week in and week out with the wide receivers that the Colts are developing right now. Richardson's can't do that. Flacco can do that potentially today or tomorrow or the week after, right? So anyway, guys, that's all I'm saying. Have a good day. Enjoy your Sunday. Talk to you later. Bye.